Hello, my name is Larry Bodine. I'm the president of Democrats of Greater Tucson, and I want to welcome you to today's Monsoon Monday meeting of Democrats of Greater Tucson. We have a terrific speaker lined up, and that is Suzanne Droubie, the county assessor. Give us a wave. A lot of people are interested in posting announcements. Let's get to our regulars first. Christina, I understand we have some fun in our future. Tell us about that.
It's coming up time for another Drinking Democratically happy hour. This month on August the 25th from 4 to 6 p.m. we're going to be at Brother John's Bourbon and Barbecue on Stone Avenue. We're going to have a section of the bar there. They have happy hour specials, and we hope that y'all will come by, talk politics with us. Our last happy hour at Monterey Court, Susie Anderson and Rosemary brought petitions, and we were able to get some petitions signed at that time. We had some new people come from Oro Valley to join us, so we're hoping to get a few more people. You can register through the link that I put in the chat, or you can go to the DGT website, www.thedgt.org, and there's information there to register. That way we can let our host, Brother Johns, know how many people are going to be there. So please register. You don't have to print tickets. Just let us know that you're going to come. Thank you. I hope everybody will be there 4 to 6 on August the 25th.
Me too. I've signed up, and I'll be there. I can't wait. Thanks so much for organizing that, Christina.
No worries.
Let's turn to our membership director, Kathy Ramage-White.
Thank you very much, Larry. So you're thinking about drinking democratically. That's good. But before we meet in person for that, don't forget, I know some of you are listening and you are Zooming with us, but you haven't yet joined. You're not officially a member. So let's get to the dgt.org and click on and sign up with Act Blue. That's the easiest thing to do. It's a good place to go, and we really would like to see y'all. So you take care. Thanks a lot. And Larry, I'll send it back to you.
Well, thanks so much, Kathy. Always appreciate it. Let's turn now to our program director, Sandy Binion. Who have you got lined up for us in the weeks to come?
Next week, we have Richard Fimbris, who is the city councilman from Ward 5. He's running, but he's running unopposed, and so he'll be telling us all the good things and whatever else is going on in Ward 5. The following week, we have our own Lucy Messing, and she's going to have with her David Lujan. And between the two of them, they will explain everything on those 3 ballots having to do with education and the horrible budget that got passed here and taking away all the money from the schools. So they'll be talking about that and answering any of your questions. And then the following week, we have Daniel Hernandez, who is presently a state representative, but has announced that he's running for the place of Ann Kirkpatrick as one of the Democratic candidates. And he is the third one that I've brought on, and the only 3 so far Democrats that have announced for that position. On the beginning of September, we're going to take a day off. So we hope all of you will then join Labor in celebrating Labor Day.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to all these programs. Patricia Weedcock, you had an announcement about the Tanque Verde Democrats.
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Pat Weedhoff, and I'm the chair of the Tanque Verde Valley Dems Club. We want to have you join us this coming Saturday, August 14th at 10 a.m. Our program will feature Arizona Superintendent of Public Instruction, Kathy Hoffman, and LD9 Senator Victoria Steele. It's online. Go to our website and just link in. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Paula Aboud has an announcement about the districts for the Justices of the Peace. Paula, go right ahead.
Thank you, Larry. And great to be at DGT and to see all of these wonderful familiar faces. This is a redistricting year for justices of the peace in Pima County and the constables. Now, for those of you that read the news and watch, the justices of the peace in Pima County have been having a lot of stress around the evictions. They're making the media and they're evicting people that probably are not getting proper hearings and probably aren't getting the kind of compassion and consideration. And for instance, somebody comes in for an eviction and says, I've given the court all my exhibits, and then wants to have a hearing, and the judge says, well, I don't see that exhibit, and I know that's an important exhibit, but I'm going to evict you anyway. Whereas what our Democratic judges are doing instead is saying, it's the court's responsibility to find all of your exhibits. So we're going to reset this hearing for 5 more days to give the court time to locate your exhibits. And it's not happening. The justices of the peace are the last bastion of Republican stronghold. The leadership is Republican and the dynamic there is Republican. And we have the ability through redistricting to support one of 3 options that are going to come before the Board of Supervisors on September 7th. And I'm asking all folks, all Democrats, to write a letter. 2 of the options are Republican options, option 2 and 3. We're going to ask you to support option 1, which creates fair districts for the constables, fair districts for the justices of the peace, and it brings the representation, which is mostly supporting Republican districts. I mean, there are 4 Republican judges when the population of Pima County typically would warrant only 2. So we've rebalanced the districts, made everything fair, and we're going to ask you folks to support with emails to the Ford Board of Supervisors. But 2 key supervisors, Supervisor Rex Scott in the Northwest side and Sharon Bronson, especially Rex, because he listens to what constituents are saying. September 7th, the Board of Supervisors have the opportunity to vote for one of these 3 maps. If there's so much testimony and so much concern and they want to study it, they'll continue it till September 21st. But this is very timely. So,
All right, Paula. Well, thanks very much. We have an announcement now from 2 representatives of the Arizona Democratic Party who have been assigned to be permanent organizers here in Pima County. Lauren Burson and Vivian Morrison, please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren. I met a couple of you at the happy hour a few weeks ago, so excited to be back. Again, my name is Lauren. I'm organizing in Pima County with the state party. They're calling us Project 1530, and I'll get into a little bit more about that in a second, but I just want to give Vivian the opportunity to introduce herself as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Vivian Morrison. I was born and raised here in Tucson, Arizona. I'm organizing alongside Lauren here in Pima County for the ADC's 1530. I'm going to be working really closely with LDs 3, 4, 9, and 11. And so I may be connecting with all of you in that way. And I'll kick it back to Lauren to talk more about the program and what we have coming up.
I'm also going to be organizing in LDs 10, 2, and 14, just for that information. But Project 1530 is a little bit different. So the ADP has started a permanent organizing program. So this is going to go beyond just the midterms. So we're really here to help build capacity and work with the local county parties and the local LDs and just any groups that would like to work with us. We want to work with everybody. We're going to be focusing on voter registration, the independent redistricting commission meetings and that whole redistricting process, and then just party building and getting to know each other in the community and helping out in any way we can. Just want to emphasize that we are your organizers. So we will put our contact information in the chat box and feel free to call or email us at any time. If anybody would like to set up a one-on-one meeting, we would love to hear your perspectives living and working in Pima County and Tucson and how we can best plug ourselves into your existing efforts and how we can help. We are also going to be having a lunch launch party this Saturday from 10 to 1 at the Pima County Dems headquarters. So please come on down, share with your friends. We'll be sending out a mobilize too if you'd like to register that way, but we just want to get to know everybody in the community as best as possible and introduce ourselves that way. So that's going to be 10 to 1 at the Pima Dems headquarters, and there will be lunch and snack. So please join us. We'd love to see you all and hear what you have to say and just get involved with the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that covers all of the announcements. So let me introduce our speaker, Suzanne Droubie. With more than 24 years of combined experience as a property tax agent and appraiser, a real estate agent, and as a customer service specialist, Suzanne Droubie was elected Pima County Assessor in 2020. She's going to discuss the Assessor's Office's various programs, including the Senior Freeze Program, as well as other programs for historic property designation. Since she's taken office in January, she has created a business services department dedicated to assisting the business community, a rapid response team providing real-time assistance to property owners who suffered a loss from fire or other natural disasters. She started a community outreach department providing timely assistance at our county's public libraries. She created an enhanced customer service department to provide exceptional help to the public. And at long last, she's started an ongoing renovation of the Pima County Assessor's official website so that it will be more user-friendly. And with that, Suzanne, the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to see everyone again. I kind of took a little break to try to get into the assessor's office and get my feet underneath me. So it's good to be back and it's good to see everybody. I love the assessor's office. First of all, I worked here for 8 years, but one of the things that I know I campaigned on and that I noticed was that the customer service wasn't really up to par. It was a very internalized organization and dealt very strictly with what was happening inside the office. And while that is important, and that is our primary objective, is to get everything listed onto the roll and get the roll out on time, make sure that everything's valued as accurately as possible so that everybody's paying their fair amount of taxes. I also feel that customer service and just getting knowledge about the office is extremely important. Everybody out there should know what we do here. Your property taxes are one of your largest expenses. And so in an effort to do that, I've created some programs. I know I'm going to save the rapid response for last. It is, in my opinion, one of the more exciting of the programs. This still is the assessor's office. So exciting is relative. But for us here, it's really exciting. And I hope I don't bore everybody here. One of the things that I did was implemented an outreach department to provide information to the public. And right now we're doing that through our library system, through meetings to get information out there on some of the exemptions, such as our and programs that we have, like the Senior Freeze Program, the Widowers exemption, things like that. The programs that can help the public manage this expense that once we retire, let's face it, your property taxes is one of your major expenses, something that you do have to deal with. Even after you pay off the house, it is still there. And so there's some programs out there that help everybody manage this expense. And that's the information that we're trying to get out there at the libraries. We're going to expand that. Now that we're at the libraries, we're also going to get information on how your properties are valued into the hands of the real estate agents. We're going to be sending letters out there when a tragedy does befall a family. One of the things I want everybody to know is that we are out there, we're here serving a purpose, and that purpose is to serve the community. So when a loved one passes away, we are going to get information to you about the Senior Freeze. You'll get a letter in the mail from me. The last thing I want people to be doing when they need to focus on themselves and their family in these times is worry about trying to figure out what programs are available to them out there. So I'm going to be bringing this information to you so that it makes it easier, a little less to think about. You don't have to go searching for it. And I don't want anybody to not be able to take advantage of these programs because they are there to help you. So that's what we're doing with a lot with our outreach program. I have an enhanced customer service department now. We are working on when people call the assessor's office. It used to be you'd call the assessor's office, and the minute you kind of went off that path of property valuation, you would get transferred to somebody else, or all of a sudden we couldn't help you anymore. I'm expanding the knowledge of my customer service department so that when you call the assessor's office, even if it's nothing that we deal with here in the assessor's office, staff is now trained to get you to the department in the county that you need to be in touch with to get the help that you need. So we're not just going to, disconnect or transfer you to somebody else. And that's really important to me. People have questions about the treasurer's office. If we can answer them, we're going to answer them. The last thing I want to do is transfer you to another person. We're also working together. I'm working with some of the heads of the other departments to try to come up with a centralized customer service so that you have one place to go to get answers to all of your questions regarding the recorder's office, the treasurer's office, and the assessor's office. I'm really trying to stop the transferring or the moving from office to office to office by doing that. Another thing that we're doing is we are turning our website bilingual. I have gotten some pushback from the state on that. And it is one of the things that I feel very strongly about is inclusiveness for our entire community. And so you will start to see all of the forms from the assessor's office coming out bilingual. The website will be bilingual so that everybody can just go to the website, click on their language of choice, be self-helping instead of always having to look for somebody else to translate stuff. That's frustrating. And to me, in Pima County, there's no reason for it. So we're working very hard to get that done as quickly as possible. Like I said, the state's pushing back a little bit on me, but I'm pushing back on them a little bit harder with some help of some people that I've met in the county that are throwing a little bit of their weight behind me. So hopefully soon everything will be bilingual and we can push that. Maybe we'll set the example here in the assessor's office to push it out into other offices. Business services department is something that we've started here, educating our businesses on why they're paying property taxes, how important it is that they pay their fair share of property taxes. A lot of stuff has been happening right now, such as our ratio for business properties is starting to decrease. That is going to take some of that burden and shift it onto the residential homeowners. I'm working on the assessors, we're all working together to try to deal with that, to help the homeowners out so that they feel less of an impact. We're working with the county. When we're dealing with the businesses out there, like I said, I'm trying to get it so that they're more educated and not just appealing values because they can. That tax dollar now more than ever is extremely important to Pima County. That money goes to our schools and to our rapid response services out in the community. And we need to make sure that that money keeps coming in by working with our businesses, like I said, to educate. My rapid response team is also new. And that's, I'm going to say, one of my favorite programs. And we will be expanding it. Right now, what we're doing is if there is a fire or a disaster of some sort, such as flooding, right now, we're all dealing with a little bit of that. The assessor's office is getting a report now from all of the fire departments and a lot of the different community services out there that deal directly with the public when something happens, and the assessor's office has never been involved. Now we're getting involved. So if your house burns, not only are you going to deal with the fire department, the police department, your insurance company, but you're also going to have the assessor there to help you by going out there, assessing the damage and seeing if there's anything that we can do as far as your improvement value to temporarily get that reflective of what's happened so that your property taxes temporarily will go down, hopefully, while you're in the reconstruction process or whatever it is that you have to do. All of this is being done in an effort, again, to be proactive versus reactive. If you're suffering a tragedy, the last thing you want to do is sit down and try to figure out where to go to get help. Help should be coming to you. And that's kind of the main focus with everything that I'm doing in the assessor's office is we're coming out to the community now instead of the community having to figure out how to get to us and what it is we can do for them. Again, like I said, with the rapid response team, again, we're going to expand that out also to other areas. That's kind of what we have going on here. Is there any questions? I know that was a lot.
Suzanne, thanks very much. I have a question just to get things started. I retired in November, and of course, my income has gone down drastically. And I noticed that in order to obtain a senior freeze, you have to have an income of less than $47,640 for two people. And my question is Social Security counted as a part of that $47,000?
It is, yes.
Okay, good to know.
And
All right, Paul, go right ahead and unmute. We have a question from Paul Wagaman.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. It's nice to see government getting more customer friendly. Would you share why the state is opposing going bilingual?
Article 28 is an article, it's part of the Arizona Constitution, and it was put in place a while back. I'm not the only elected official that hates Article 28. And I don't use that word very often, but I'm going to use it here. To me, it's a discriminatory article that was put in place to disenfranchise our Spanish-speaking community. Part of that article states that we are forbidden from putting out documents in Spanish. We are to communicate in English because English is the primary language of the United States of America. While I understand that English is the primary language, I also understand that many, many Americans don't speak English. And so they shouldn't be disenfranchised by me, by the government, or by anybody else. And so as part of good customer service and good government, I believe that the practice should always be to provide material in the language in which somebody can understand it. And stop harping on we don't need a primary language. We just need to be there to service everybody, and we need to do that in a manner that makes them most comfortable. There's a lot of forms that we use here at the assessor's office that are the Department of Revenue's forms. I started off very optimistic and a little naive, thinking this should be absolutely no problem to get these forms converted into bilingual forms. The Department of Revenue very quickly shot back at me that I needed to read Article 28, become familiar with it as an elected official, perhaps speak to my county attorney prior to putting out any forms bilingually. Good thing that we've got the county attorney we have. She's very supportive of everything that I'm doing here and ready to stand up and help me with this. But we're being careful moving forward. I still am not that assessor that wants to see a bunch of lawsuits. However, this is a fight that I will take as far as I need to take it. That's the main reason why they're pushing back up that Article 28.
You mentioned the county attorney supporting you. What about other county offices that have to deal with the public? Aside from the recorder that provides instructions and everything for voting in two languages, do other county offices do this?
I haven't looked into exactly what the county offices are doing. We're just, ironically, about 2 weeks ago is when we started getting the pushback on this. So I took it up to Mr. Huckleberry's office and sat and talked with him about it. And him and Miss Lesher, like I said, are very, very supportive and behind us, which is good. But as far as checking into which other offices are currently doing it now, we haven't done that. We will be doing that. Again, I don't mind leading the way if I have to.
Keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have a question from Sandy Saltz. Go right ahead, Sandy.
Hi, Suzanne. A broad question on valuation. Why can't or why shouldn't the entire concept of valuing property be based on market value? Essentially tracking transactions as they happen, because the true value of any property is what a buyer and seller agree that value to be, and do away with percentage assessments, all property, what the sale is.
Yeah, with valuation for mass properties and mass appraisal, which is what we do here, because remember, we're valuing over 450,000 properties in Pima County. They do use market. That is our primary valuation methodology. The reason that you sometimes see a percentage of what you would consider 100% market value is because of the margin of error, because we are dealing with hundreds and thousands of sales. And so where the statute says that we do value at 100% of market value, again, you'll see some that are falling below that because of that margin of error. Now, one thing that we don't do in mass appraisal, and we're very careful not to do that, is when a house sells, like say your house sold for 300,000, we'll just throw that out there. At the assessor's office, we don't take your house and immediately put that value at 300,000. And the reason is because they call it spearing a sale, first of all. Second of all, we take that sale of 300 and we throw it in with all of the sales that have happened in that area of properties like that. And then we apply it in that range. So that's why you won't see yourself at 100% of your market value. You'll see it usually anywhere between 80 and 90% of your value of what the market is indicating. And again, it's because of the margin of error when we're dealing with so many sales. Another thing we have to remember when we're looking at sales is that not all sales are considered good sales. If you're selling to your brother, it's not going to be considered a good sale. If you are selling your boat and your motorcycle and your motorhome with your house, we look at that and that's not going to be considered a good sale. So that's the other thing we do here at the assessor's office is we take every sale that happens and we research it and we look at it. And again, all of those sales go into the pot, which we call the sales ratio study. And we look at that. And from there, we look at the range and then we put the values of the houses in that range. And that's where we're trying to stay, is within a range of market value. Sometimes we can't use market. If you've got a property out there that's very unique, a lot of businesses will fall under this. Because there's not a lot of sales in Pima County of certain types of properties, we'll value those on the cost basis, which is the cost to build it, less depreciation, and then the land value thrown in there. And again, sometimes that becomes the easiest and fairest and most equitable way to value something because you don't have a lot of sales to look at to see what the most probable sale price of that would be. Something that falls into that is like some of our car washes. They don't sell a lot, or they're unique. They have a lot of personal properties. That would be one of those things that we would value on the cost system. There's also a lot of properties out there that sell on an income basis. And if that's more applicable, that's how we're going to value it. A lot of multifamily properties out there, we look at market, but we understand that their sales are income driven. So we look at how much income that particular property is bringing in, and that's how we're going to value it. That's why we don't always value everything on market. However, the statute states, and it is always our rule of thumb, that you will never be valued higher than what market indicates. So everything we do has to make sense within the market of those particular types of properties, regardless of which of those three methodologies we use.
All right, thank you very much. That was a good explanation. Let's turn to Andrea Kennedy, who has a question. Go ahead, Andrea.
Good afternoon, Ms. Droubie, and thanks for coming by to talk to us. I would like to ask about appealing an assessment of the taxes on my house. I haven't tried it in many years. The last time I did, I was told that my taxes went up because the houses in my area and similar areas were selling for a lot more money. And what was happening and what's been happening is people would move in, buy low, do a Jeep redo on the house, and then sell it for $400,000. And meanwhile, my house has 2 bedrooms and a bath and a kitchen that has been redone in 1973. So what do I say if I would like to try filing another appeal to lower my taxes? Do I say this is a unique home in a neighborhood? And really, most of the places here are 3 beds and 2 baths. And some of them have more frontage. But I didn't have any success. I haven't tried it in a while. So perhaps, what do I say as if I want to apply to lower my taxes based on the fact that my house is basically unimproved in comparison to the homes in the area?
There is definitely a way to go about appealing that. And that is actually, since you mentioned that, that's the brochure we're actually working on right now, is to help explain this. So we will be getting, again, this information out there. But in a situation like that, because what's happening now is, yes, people are going in, they're buying the older houses, they're fixing them and what we call flipping them. And then, yeah, it sells for $400,000. And what happens at the assessor's office, and the reason your value is going up, is because the assessor's office doesn't know that this one that sold for $400,000 had been renovated and flipped. And in the past, they weren't trying to do anything to track that. We are now at the assessor's office, we're tracking that. We are looking at properties that are selling for a lot higher than makes sense to us. Or looking at a lot of paired sale analysis, not to get too technical, but if something sold last year for $150,000 and then 12 months to 24 months later, it's selling for $400,000, that's a red flag to us that something's going on there. And they need to be reclassified. Every house in Pima County has a classification from, it's either classified as, and when I say classified, I don't mean between residential and commercial. It's a quality of construction classification that gets put on a residential home. And so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. You don't see a lot of 8s. But you see a lot of our 3s, because 3 is considered average. But if your house is right now classified as a 3, and that other house is classified as a 3, and it's sold for 400, this one should probably be classified as a 4, which is going to signify that that's why it sold for 400. And then yours won't be put in the same group of comparables, because you will now still be a 3 where they've been changed to a 4. If that kind of makes sense, but we're tracking it here. So when you appeal your property, what you want to say is, I mean, basically what you want to say is that your house is being incorrectly assessed because of the grade of your property is higher than it should be, or should be lower than what the ones that are selling at the high dollar amount are. Once those adjustments are made, then your value will be more applicable to what houses in the condition that yours are in are selling for. Does that make sense? Very long explanation. Try not to get too technical. I'm real nerdy about this stuff, so you'll have to stop me if I do. I apologize. But again, we're doing a pamphlet on that, on how to appeal your property, what to look for, what to put down in those on the form in the area of comments where you're describing your problem. I'm going to have keywords in this pamphlet. So what if your house is only worth 200, your neighbor sells for 4, and now your value goes up? What should I say in that comment section? We're going to have those types of responses to help you fill out that appeal paperwork. And my phone number will be all over it. I'm always here. Call this assessor's office. We're here to help you fill out those forms. I know everybody thinks that, you know, they're the enemy. We are not the enemy. If your value is wrong, we want it correct. If it's correct, we're going to explain to you why it's correct, and we're going to listen to you, and hopefully you'll listen to us. And at the end of it, when you get up from the table, you should understand exactly why your value is where it is. You might not like it, but at least you'll know why and hopefully agree with it at that point.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from our board member, Susie Anderson. Go right ahead, Susie.
Thank you. Thank you, Suzanne. It's so wonderful to have you here and to tell us some of these nerdy things that we really don't know that much about and are afraid to ask. You talked about depreciation, but that was limited to a unique group of properties. So market value does not take into consideration that houses were built in the 1950s or the 70s or at the turn of the century, it does take into account the building materials? Okay, like some of those turn of the century that are adobe or stone are different than a timber house, a brick house, a slump block. How do those materials work into, and is there any way that depreciation works into your, for a general subdivision, into your equation?
With residential properties, because they're not valued on cost, we are looking at the market. The market should reflect, because your house should be compared to like houses. So if your house was built in the 1920s, it should be the comparable set should be houses that are built in the 1920s. And so we'll look at what the houses that are built in the 1920s are selling for. That's what creates your market. Now, if your house is in an area where it's built in 1920, but you're surrounded by houses that were built in the 50s, 60s, 70s because of revitalization, which happens in Tucson, a lot of areas are going through that right now, then that's something you need to bring to our attention. You need to say, hey, you know, my house, I believe, is valued higher than it should be because I think you're using the comparables in this area, which are all 50 years newer than mine. You know, the other thing we're going to do is we're going to sit down with you at the assessor's office. And if you are in a beautiful older home, one of our many in Pima County, we're going to see if you're, if it's possibly a historic property. We're going to try to see if there's any other categories that you also fit in that could, again, like I said, help with those taxes or get you into an applicable category so that you're being valued more accurately and more fairly than you possibly are right now.
Thank you.
Suzanne, you haven't really talked very much about business services. Tell us about the new business services department and what sort of questions are you dealing with there?
Our business services department was a department that I created to help to interact with the business community. We at the assessor's office, a lot of homeowners don't realize, but business personal property is a thing, and it brings in over $2 billion worth of revenue every year to Pima County. And so we needed to find a way to get out there and interact with the business community because we need to be able to get inside the businesses, see what type of personal property they have so that it can be valued. Also explain the exemptions. There's a very large business personal property exemption out there. I also don't want our very small businesses to not realize that that exemption exists and not be utilizing it. So we're doing a lot of that type of stuff from a business personal property standpoint. The other thing that we're doing is valuation projections for businesses because we recognize, and I've worked in a lot of customer service things for businesses in the past, and my time as an agent, I realize it's not that a lot of times the businesses don't want to pay their taxes. Nobody wants to pay their taxes, but they're part of the community. They understand that. What happens is that all of a sudden they build this new building and they don't think property taxes for whatever reason. Property taxes not only are the major expense of homeowners, they're also the major expense of our businesses out there. So what I'm trying to do is educate our business community and make them feel comfortable with the assessor's office so that they're coming to us ahead of time and they're saying, we're going to build, you know, this multifamily project, hopefully low-income housing over here, Sue, and our bank, and we need to know what the property taxes are going to look like for this project. So that they don't get blindsided when this project is all of a sudden built and they were told by some agent out there that the property taxes would be $100,000 to $200,000 and they get a bill from our treasurer's office for $400,000. They need a place to go where they can get an accurate estimation of what those taxes are going to be so they can figure it into their expenses when they're building their projects and when they're getting that financing. a lot of times people get that bill and now they're panicking because that expense is a lot higher than they thought it was going to be. The first thing they're going to want to do is appeal their property valuation, even though that's not the problem. The problem was that they didn't do their due diligence prior to building. And so they didn't understand what those taxes were going to be. That's what happens a lot of times in our business, the assessor's office and the treasurer's office. People wait until they get that tax bill. Then they panic and they're told the only thing that they can do about it is to get their value lowered. We need to stop that. We need to quit being reactive and be proactive. That is kind of my mantra down here. That's why you're seeing all of this information going out into the public for businesses, for homeowners, for seniors, for widows and widowers, disabled people. The more information I can get out to you, the more proactive we can be, and we can stop some of the reactiveness. And businesses are no different. The other thing is getting out there. Some of the work we do here is unpopular, but we do need to audit those businesses to make sure that I have all the personal property on the rolls. That is my job. And so business services is rebuilding those connections that have been lost over the last 16 years.
Thanks, Suzanne. Tell us what your next project is going to be. What's another thing that you think the assessor's office should focus on sometime soon?
Well, one of the things that I want to look at is adjusting some of our hours, perhaps at the assessor's office. This isn't going to be extremely popular, but I do recognize and know that a lot of people do work regular business hours during the day and have trouble getting down to our office. I would love to see our office have like some Saturday morning hours or one night a week where we stay open after hours or allow the public to come in early before the traditional 8 o'clock, perhaps at 7. So we're going to be working a little bit on that to create more access for people. And I also want to, the satellites that I talked about during my campaign are very important to me too. So getting mobile assessing satellite stations out there into the public where we're coming to the community instead of the community always having to come downtown to us. So that's one of our next projects.
All right, Suzanne, I want to thank you so much for addressing Democrats of Greater Tucson today. We're all out of questions, except for one that I would ask you. Would you bring our meeting to a close and tell us how we can support you? Tell us how we can find out more information about your office and how do we get a hold of you?
Ask questions. If you have ideas on what we can do at the assessor's office, there's no, again, I'm old school. There's no such thing as a bad idea. So if there's something we're not doing here that you think would be a really neat idea, let me know and we'll try to implement it. I love ideas and I see what's going on here. You guys see what's going on out there because you're out there living it. So let me know what I can do. That's how you can support me. The assessor's office, we have a main line, or you can call Joe Ferguson. And I will go ahead and put his phone number here down in the chat. You can email. The assessor's office has a contact page. So the most important thing is don't be a stranger. That's all I ask. We're only as good as we know to be, if that makes sense. So if we're falling down someplace, please let us know. That's why I took this, that's why I ran so hard to get into this place, was just to really make this office a resource. So whatever, it's all up to you. This office is yours. I'm just here implementing your ideas and making it the best assessor's office I can for Pima County.
All right, Suzanne, thank you very much for coming to today's meeting. We very much enjoyed your taking the time and explaining all these different points. And with that, I'm going to draw the meeting to a close. Thanks again, Suzanne, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye now.